Every Monday for the next month, the Business Journal will be bringing you an in-depth look at the Medici Museum of Art's new exhibit, Norman Rockwell, American Scouting Collection. In part 1 of our 4-part series, Bill Mullane, curator of the exhibit, gives an overview of the gallery and discusses some of the themes seen in Rockwell's work.
Well, I want to welcome you to the Medici Museum, where currently we have an exhibition of Norman Rockwell's work in the Boy Scout of America collection. As you enter the museum, you see Norman Rockwell's scout waving, and next to him on the right is a painting by Joseph Sestari, and that's the full circle from this exhibit takes us from illustrators prior to Norman Rockwell, through Norman Rockwell's 60-year career with the Boy Scouts, and then Joe Sestari, who succeeded him as the editor of Boys Life magazine. As you can see here, the Medici Museum is hosting the Boy Scout exhibit, and it's here in Howland, Ohio. And the Boy Scout collection is fairly extensive with more than 400 pieces. So this exhibit is the first exhibit out of what could be a number of exhibits that feature work from that collection. The layout of the museum, as you can see, is nice and open, and I think people will enjoy seeing the work in this environment and all together at one time, which has not happened ever. All of these Rockwells have never all at once been in one place. As we come into the exhibition and you turn to your left, you see a painting that was done for the 50th anniversary. It's 1910 to 1960, and that starts the exhibition, and a painting is standing alone. It's then, the next group of paintings really have to do with the theme of family and the family's interactions with scouting. And it starts with images of a young boy getting his first Boy Scout uniform. And you know he's received his first Boy Scout uniform because in the painting, as Norman Rockwell did a lot, he tells a story. And here you can see that the young boy's Cub Scout uniform has been discarded and is laid in the box that the new uniform has come in. And the whole family is gathering around watching him put on his new uniform for the first time. His older brother, Boy Scout, is helping him tie his neckerchief, and his mother's sewing on one of the patches. And the little boy, who's not yet old enough to be a scout, is looking on adoringly. And then as you go through, you see this theme just carries on throughout these family-oriented paintings. This one, a young Cub Scout is measuring his Boy Scout brother's chest, and you know they're doing that because he's about to get his fitness badge, and behind him is his fitness chart. So you can see the chart, and his brother is calculating whether or not his chest has grown, and of course their dog looks up adoringly at the brothers, which is another piece of Rockwell, kind of a thematic piece, is where the family pets play a big role of being part of that family unit. And then the next one, a mother pinning on her Boy Scout son's newest medal, the Scoutmaster behind him to our right, and his dad looking on behind his mom. Or in the next piece, where a Boy Scout has returned home from Boy Scout camp, and again, you can see Dad's greeting him at the door. Mom and his Cub Scout brother are bolting down the steps as fast as they can because they're welcoming him home. The pet dog is at his feet looking up, and the other pet dog is racing to get there also, and they're followed by the cat and what we assume is probably Grandma. And then finally, in the family theme, a really interesting piece. Interesting in that Joe Sestari, who took over for Rockwell, was the one who did the initial photograph for this piece and was integrally involved in convincing Norman that this was a painting that he should do. And it's entitled Can't Wait, and of course the story again is fairly simple to see. A young boy, a Cub Scout, has gone into a room. He's found his brother's uniform. He's taken off his Cub Scout uniform and put on his brother's uniform and set a mirror on a chair and is looking at himself in the Boy Scout uniform, which is about 3 sizes too big. And of course the dog is watching that adoringly. But at his elbow, you see a framed photograph of the Cub Scout boy, him, looking adoringly up at his brother in his uniform. And that's how you kind of can tell that this story is whole. And then we finish it with a poster that was actually produced from this painting. One of the ways the paintings were used by the Boy Scouts and by his publishing company was to make posters, calendars, and other materials for sale. So then we move into two areas where the themes are related. The first theme is the one of honor and the Boy Scout pledge. Something that runs through Boy Scout work, regardless of who the illustrator was, is the pledge that the Boy Scouts took, the areas of honor that they have. And so these paintings all relate to that particular theme. And then we move over here where the theme is Boy Scouts sort of on the move, and Boy Scouts the Jamboree, which always played a big part in Boy Scout life. And the Jamboree is interesting in that you'll see within the Jamboree paintings, again, an element of diversity, because when they brought Boy Scouts together throughout the world, it was diverse. Of course, we today would say that same diversity didn't exist within our own country for a number of years to come. But you'll see Boy Scouts from all over the world in their various uniforms that reflected the culture that they were coming to Boy Scouting from. So we then move into a section where the theme has to do with Boy Scouts and history. Part of these images are Boy Scouts visiting historic sites, but one of the things that Norman Rockwell did very well, as did his predecessors like Joseph Leidendecker, who we'll see some of his work, did, and Christley did, would be to show historic images as a precursor to the scout or to the person who's being viewed in the painting. Here, George Washington is leading the scout on their way. General Washington in his full uniform is cast upon a cloud and is seen as, almost an apparition behind the scout. Or here, one of the themes in scouting is reverence. And so we place these two paintings together because this is George Washington in a reverent pose behind a Boy Scout and a Cub Scout. And then you move to this painting in which you view scouts who are sitting within a religious or church service. And they're in the pew looking up at us, the audience member. Again, the whole theme of not only history, but of reverence, which is one of the tenets of scouting. We then enter a part of the exhibit. The next wall, we look at one of Norman Rockwell's traditional portraits done of a Boy Scout leader. And that painting shows very traditional portraiture as it was done. And then a popular image that is not related to Boy Scouting necessarily, but continues with the theme. It's a young boy, his dog, and her puppies. And a very popular theme and very much a part of the kind of work that he did for Saturday Evening Post and for calendars. And then we continue by looking at two drawings that we have of Norman Rockwell's, and the only two drawings. We have some prints, but these are the two drawings in the exhibition. The first one, Manpower to Boy Power, is another very famous image. But then in this corner, we can actually see Norman Rockwell's whole process. So he starts with a fairly detailed drawing in graphite. You can tell that he used it as a study. In the upper corners of the drawing, you can still see the thumbtack holes and the thumbtack impression where he added thumbtack to his wall as he did the painting. He would then go from drawing to an oil sketch, which is a very loose sketch, and then to a preparatory painting, and then there's another version of this in another collection that's even a larger painting of the same theme. But you can see him work through his thinking within this set here.
717 Credit Union. Business services designed to meet your daily needs. Commercial loans, business deposits, merchant and payroll services. 717 Credit Union. It's knowing you were treated right every time.